We knew that for our market, they're not going to go stand in line and wait 30 minutes for a beer and they go sit at a barrel table, for example. Like we knew our market, has a little bit different demands, and we had to address that from the get-go.
How much reclaimed wood is in your tap room? Is it?
It's all the oak.
All of it, yeah, just like one barn's worth. Okay. All right. Well, we are thrilled to welcome Jill and Ryan Ahrens to the Beer Branding Trends podcast. Ryan and Jill, thank you for being here today. Could you please introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about Malibu Brewing?
Sure. I'm Ryan Ahrens, co-owner.
And I'm Jill Ahrens, co-owner as well.
Jill and I started Malibu Brewing Company about 7 years ago, at least the idea of it. And we're the only craft brewery in Malibu, California. We have a beautiful tap room located at the end of Zuma Beach. And yeah, we're a great spot, family friendly, and the perfect spot for after you're enjoying the beach and or a hike. And we're kind of known for that in the area.
I want to talk about Malibu for a moment itself. Malibu's amazing. You've got stunning beaches and mountains, some of the best surfing in the world, lovely weather year round. Everyone there is just healthy and beautiful. I felt like an ogre the few times I've been there. It's gorgeous. You have all of these things, but you don't really have a craft beer scene to speak of. And this is really weird and wild to see in 2024. So tell me, 25 now, I guess I should say, what has it been like building a beer brand in one of the last places, ostensibly in the United States, that has not been touched by the beer boom?
Yeah, it was a bit of a surprise to Jill and I when we moved from Denver, Colorado, where you can throw a rock and hit a brewery anywhere in that city. And we got to Malibu and we're like, where is our craft brewery? And so that was a lot of the impetus for us to say, okay, we're going to be the ones to bring Malibu a craft brewery. There's a lot of reasons why it hasn't been done before. Geographically, it's tricky. It's a rural town. We're on septic on most of the city, and it's a small town, and, development is hard. It's an expensive town to develop in. So it was a very uphill battle to bring a community a craft brewery. And so it hasn't been easy. And we've been trying to create a lot of craft beer fans too, since it is kind of a craft beer desert out here. And so trying to speak the language of people who are we've got a lot of wine fans. So trying to bridge that gap and like I said, create new craft beer fans through a different craft beer experience.
I remember in our earlier conversations, Jill, especially when we're gonna get into this a little more pointedly later on, but in building out your beautiful tap room and getting all the FFE squared away and just making it a beautiful space, you guys had talked about how people would come and they'd come in and be surprised. Like we kind of know what craft beer looks like. And it's also kind of true, it does look like that across the industry. And you guys had, to your point about fighting an uphill battle, Ryan, it's just something that you had dealt with from day one. Do you still deal with, maybe number one, could you talk about that? But number two, do you still see that when new people come in?
Yeah, I think we knew when we started, we knew what our tap room, what our brand, what it needed to be for our market to succeed, especially. So with that regard, design, hospitality, the entire down to the detail experience had to be at the forefront of everything we did. So we get people that come in that are craft beer fans and they're just from out of town and they're surprised because it's a little bit warmer, it's a little bit softer of an experience, a little more curated than you're kind of used to as a typical brewery experience. Mm-hmm. But that was also incredibly intentional. We wanted to stray away from a sterile, institutional kind of manufacturing vibe, which obviously, rightfully so, most breweries are. But we knew that for our market, they're not going to go stand in line and wait 30 minutes for a beer and they go sit at a barrel table, for example. Like we knew our market, has a little bit different demands, and we had to address that from the get-go.
How much reclaimed wood is in your tap room? Is it?
It's all the oak.
All of it, yeah, just like one barn's worth. Okay.
So we're talking today because Malibu Brewing partnered with CODO on a brand strategy and architecture project en route to a substantial packaging refresh. You've scaled from nothing to brewing more than 1,000 barrels in less than 3 years, so obviously you're doing something right. We have to ask, this process isn't cheap. It's not fast. Why go through this process now?
We, as I mentioned earlier, we started that concept of Malibu Brewing Company a long time ago, and right when we were getting going was developing packaging. We ended up opening our brewery or production facility in the middle of the pandemic, and so we needed to get beer in cans to get it out in the world because our tap room was severely delayed in getting open in Malibu. And so we had a first version of what Malibu Brewing Company was going to become, and we liked the design of the cans, and we also, there was a lot of stuff that we just didn't know about what we were doing, and so as we've created our identity and who the public knows our brand to be, we felt like we needed to have our packaging match who we are today. And so that's the reason we undertook this exercise, and have been huge fans of your work for a long time, and we felt like it was the right fit to bring Malibu Brewing Company kind of 2.0 to the shelves.
Yeah, I think we had a moment where we realized we liked our original design and our original packaging, and it solved a need for us when we didn't know where we were going yet. We were so delayed in Malibu that we needed to at least get our brand out into the world. And there was a moment where we realized that while in our tap room or on a singular shelf, our packaging looked great, we all loved it. In the real world, when you're up against great, well-respected brands that have already been in the industry for over a decade, we needed to stand out even more than we were. And we kind of felt like it was time to grow up a little. And so, we just felt like there was a little bit more that we could do to tell our story, to take people to a place. And that's why we really reached out to you guys, is to help us shape and craft kind of who we were. And it really helped us, but also who we wanted to be. And those two identities needed to match. So somebody coming into the tap room need to have the same experience if you drink our beer in Malibu or if you drink it on a shelf off of your local store.
You guys have really strong beer names, several of which could be brewery brand names or sub-brand names on their own. Pacific Gold, First Point, Wild Grove, Sand and Sea. There's nothing really deeper to say here other than good job. Are you two coming up with all these? Is this a bigger team effort? What is going on over there?
Yeah, the names have been, very much inspired by where we are located. So that's kind of helped, really at least give us some guidelines as to how we wanted to name our beers. I think one thing that we're really always trying to do with our beers to make it approachable, and that it also begins with the names of the beers. And so it's been a lot of work of a lot of long lists of names and seeing what works, and then finding out what we can trademark, and because we got to do that nowadays. And so it's been a lot of effort, but we feel fortunate that we have been able to land on some pretty strong brand names and that are serving us well out in the world.
Well done. We rarely see folks that have the breadth that you have, like the number of names that you have, but that all actually hang together and tell a larger story. So it's really nice. You guys are doing a great job there. I want to talk about your brand architecture for a moment, and let me just ramble for a minute. I think there's a question or two in here. We took you through a brand architecture mapping process to figure out how you should position your beer portfolio, as well as some opportunities for individual brands within your beer lineup, and a handful of potential fourth category products, as well as some upcoming acquisitions. You have a ton of stuff moving right now that we haven't even really gotten into yet. I reviewed that document ahead of this call, and a few of the specific issues that you wanted guidance on included how should Malibu handle potential acquisitions? If you purchase a brand, what should you do with that? How should we name a second location that might be in Malibu or might be in a neighboring community? Does the Malibu name travel? How well does it travel? And then there's this fuzzier question of whether Malibu Brewing, ahead of this growth that you kind of have on deck, is your brewing brand a hospitality group or a brewery, or do you need to create more of a corporate brand ahead of this planned growth? So, can the Malibu brand scale to do everything that you need it to do? I wanted to kind of list those out for the listener because I think those are phenomenal examples of how brand architecture can be used as a, brand strategy, certainly, but even like a business strategy tool. This is something that we think more breweries should do, is they kind of take stock of where they currently sit. Tell us why you felt that this brand architecture work was valuable. What did you learn through the work? Did you have any big takeaways or surprises? Anything at all?
Yeah, this is, I think, a big part of why we chose CODO to work with was because it's not just about making a beautiful packaging product. That's part of it, but it was very important for us with everything that was going on. We really needed a third party to look at us as a company and what we're doing and then our branding to really help us with that brand architecture so we could have a better idea of how to, when we make these next moves, we open another location, like what makes sense. Because I think our heads are down in the day-to-day sometimes that we think we might be making a good decision. And I think we really were seeking wise advice to make sure that, what we thought might be a good idea, made sense to other people as well. And that's been a very helpful part of this process for us because we need that discussion to be had.
Yeah, I think it helped us redefine in a way who we are, because like Ryan said, I mean, we're always head down, we're in our little bubble, every day, and really saying, okay, what's next for the company? If that's multiple locations, do people in those areas care? Do they care about Malibu? Does Malibu help or hurt us? Right? And all of those questions we still talk about day to day. So yes, you all helped us, but it's still something that we self-doubt all the time. Yeah. But it turns out that it does matter. People do care and they have expectations now. So I think going through those exercises actually really helped us double down, so to speak, on who we are and what we offer. And that's a great thing for us. We are proud to do what we do, and we're proud to have the name, and we will use it where we can and where it makes the most sense.
We had some great conversations earlier in this process about on premise versus off premise. Now, you obviously want to sell more beer through your own channels. You guys are opening another location as we speak. Packaging is still really important, and that presence out at retail is really important. Can you tell us how you think about this dynamic? How do you see packaging versus taproom hospitality shaping each other and Malibu's brand itself?
Yeah, this is, one of the main impetus for making sure that when somebody interacts with our brand on the shelf instead of in our tap room, that those two identities are aligned. And the craft beer industry is tough now. We've got to compete with companies that have much bigger budgets, and so we've got to, even if we're not big, we have to look like we're a bigger brewery to the consumer on the shelves. So when it comes to being out in the off premise world, we just have to have packaging that stands up to everybody else.
I think they go hand in hand. I think for me as a consumer, if I have an experience in the tap room, I want that experience off of the shelf to be equal. And so for us, the branding and the discussions that we had, obviously with CODO, helped us realize how important, sometimes even more so, the packaging needs to be, so that people will then associate the need to visit us. So we want that package to drive you to Malibu. And so I just feel like it was, yes, we want to control as much of our destiny and the taproom sales as we can, but for those customers and those guests that can't get to us as regularly as they would like, I want them to still be able to pretend like they're there. And so that packaging needs to speak, holistically to the experience of what we offer.
I want to stay on the subject for a moment because you have a gorgeous tap room, like we mentioned earlier. It actually informed the package design process that we work through more so than it usually does. And so I'm curious, just hospitality itself and your overall vibe. I mean, you've obviously invested and care a lot about that space. Why? I know we kind of joked about it earlier, but when that's not the norm for the entire category, why again did you feel like this was so important to have a beautiful, welcoming space?
Well, I think you sort of hinted at it already because nobody else was and I don't mean nobody, because the majority don't care. The majority don't focus on the details that we focus on, and so they're leaving guests at the table, so to speak. I want as many people to want to be in my business or in my tap room as possible. So why would I want to exclude off the bat, 50% of the population? I want everybody to feel welcome, from the grandparent down to the kid, the toddler, and I want everybody to be comfortable as well. And so, for us, it was really, really important that being approachable and warm and inviting was number one.
The whole idea is to have a different craft beer experience than
Right.
what we typically always experienced. And so that was a lot of Jill and I designed the place to be a place we wanted to go. And it was because we were tired of going to breweries that were like, all right, you better know what you want off the beer list. You're not going to learn anything new because you already better know what a double hazy IPA is. And we just felt like, because of where we're located, we got to educate people on beer, and we want it to be like a positive experience. So when they do go to those other breweries, they're more educated and we can grow craft beer together. And so it's not, it's just trying to grow craft beer fans, and that's really it. And make sure people want to feel like they can, the place is, comfortable for them to do that.
Is it too early to talk about Hippie Van Hazy?
No, Hippie Van Hazy is it's a test, so to speak. We have another core hazy IPA that's doing well for us outside of our tap room and inside our tap room. And our core hazy IPA is pretty balanced and, kind of more of a crowd pleaser, where we also are finding that a lot of people, when they come to our tap rooms, they want the more dank citrus, the IPA turned up to 11. And so that's kind of what the idea is for Hippie Van Hazy it's going to be a different format. We typically do 12-ounce cans. This one's going to be, in a 16-ounce format. It's just more dialed in for a lot of the consumers that we're seeing today who want that really more intense IPA experience.
You've had cartons. We glossed over that earlier, but 12-ounce cans, 6-packs, cartons, not pack techs. You had that from day one, or at least when you started packaging as well. Is that right?
Yeah, we chose a 6-pack format in boxes, 12-ounce cans intentionally because we really try to look at things from a consumer's perspective. For us, the way, a box sits on a shelf, it to us, it was appealing. It's how I want to grab some beer at the store. It looks good from any side. It's not the most cost efficient means of packaging beer nowadays, but it's important to us that our product on the shelf looks good. It's a decision that we made, but we do also do more limited releases in 16-ounce cans in pack techs, and that's something that that we're not gonna. We listen to the market as well, and that's a different format for specific styles of beers that we release. And so part of this exercise too is bringing those cans in better into the brand family, because I know you can't see us, but a lot of our limited releases are the cans are photographic, and it's places in Malibu, and so it looks different than our core packaging. And so we're working on aligning those limited releases closer into what our new packaging looks like as well.
So Malibu's got a handful of fourth category products in the works, like hop water. So CODO is obviously excited about that. Other things too, tequila barrel-aged seltzer, a few other fun items that we discussed back in the brand architecture phase. When you think about these products, are you seeing wide off-premise distribution for these? with, packaging and a big retail presence, or are these things that are going to primarily be served through the tap room?
Yeah, we love to experiment with all kinds of things. That's part of the fun of having a brewery. It's being able to come up with some ideas and try some different things. I think it's more exactly that. We do experiment with styles and like you mentioned, some of these other products that we have working in the background, and we put them in our tap room and we see what people think. Our team loves hop water. It's a category that seems to be picking up a little bit of steam around the country, but it's not as popular as I think we want it to be. So it doesn't make sense for us to package it at this point. We, and also like to experiment with seltzers and things like you mentioned. And we do some barrel aging beers, which doesn't seem very, beachy Malibu, but we love all kinds of those things. And we're about to release, some fun barrel age stuff because we just love it. We love beer. We love craft beer. And as our customers come into the tap room, they love having a variety as well. And so it's to see what people respond to. And now that we've been open for a few years, we're getting a lot better idea of what people like and what people don't like. But we also like to do things that we just feel like trying and seeing if people respond to it as well.
Y'all will get a kick out of this, but we did have the hop water and it was sort of stagnant, right? We all love it. The team loves it. We had to cut them off from drinking all of it. And we rebranded it as a hop spritz on our menu and then served it with a lime wedge, I think, and tried to make it even fancier. And it did better, but not as well as we were hoping. So we even tried going the bougier route and rebranding just what we call it to see if the consumers cared. And unfortunately for us, they didn't. But we thought about you when things work and when they don't. We said, what would CODO do?
Just drink it all and not sell it is the answer.
I know.
What does a draft pour of hop water in your tap room cost versus a pint of beer?
Oh, I'd have to pull it. It's been so long since we had it on. We priced it near our sparkling water because we do have a canned water on the menu. So we priced it. I want to say it was probably $6.
Yeah, it's
and a beer is
expensive.
$8. Yeah.
Yeah.
A starting 14-ounce pour. We do a larger pour too.
We can get in the weeds about what you're buying when you're buying a NNA product. But yeah, it's tough. It's tough to price them. And we've seen this with a lot of our clients out in the wild that are making hop waters. I think you almost have to package it, but then it's is there a demand for it too? So it's a tough product. I think it'll be something someday, but
that's how we feel too. It's just it's not today yet. And we're certainly not big enough to be able to package it and make it a thing. We can't absorb that risk at our size. And so we're hopeful that, there's some great hop water products that, have really, that we always love to pick up at the store. And I hope that those continue to grow in popularity. So then we do have a chance to release ours because we love that as a, an alternate option, if you're not wanting a beer and an NA beer still has its place, but, a hoppy sparkling water, sure tastes pretty good.
There's a lot we purposely left out of this conversation. You have a lot of upcoming cool things that your team's working on. Your new packaging is rolling out as we speak. Beyond that, what's next? What are you guys excited about?
We're watching the craft beer industry. We're having, we're kind of seeing where things are going in 2025. It's an interesting time. And so I think what we're excited for is kind of focusing on what we do best and then kind of looking for opportunities. We're working on our next location and we're getting some, we're having interesting conversations with other groups for more locations and, and talking to other like-minded breweries about what they have going on as well. And so, I think focusing on what we do, continue to do it well. That's really what we're really focusing on, I guess, next year and excited about. But, we're also, I can't wait to get these new cans out in the world. You guys really did a great job, and they've been on our desk for a long time. And so it's kind of I just want to show them to everybody. And some people have definitely gotten a sneak preview because I'm terrible at keeping that stuff under wraps. But we're excited. We're excited for that to have a new image on the shelf. Thanks to you all.
Yeah, I think we're excited to see where Malibu goes. I mean, like Brian mentioned, I mean, we're in conversations for, potential locations. Well, I guess they could be locations 3, 4, maybe even 5, even though I don't want to say that out loud. But I think for us, we always say never. And, some things don't surprise us. And so where, our company gets to go is the most exciting part about what we're doing and what we're building. Because whether it's staying local and just continuing to do what we do, that's amazing. We're happy with it. If it's something that translates, internationally or across the country, then let's see what that is. I think that's the most exciting part, is having the ability to have built something that has such a wide reach.
I want to just thank you for the opportunity again. Cody and I have complained about this for years, but one of the kind of hardest parts of our job is the lag between finishing a thing and then when it rolls out. And I mean, we've basically been done with your work for a couple months now. We've been working through some production stuff here and there, but it's just been ready to go. And yeah, that's really frustrating. We wanted to talk about it at every turn. So we're really proud of how it turned out. Excited to see what it does for you guys. We've really just love you too. Enjoyed working with you. So thank you again. And we're looking forward to the next project.
Yeah, likewise. Just keep that invoice open. And, we've got more stuff we need to talk with you guys about down the road. And seriously, I've enjoyed working with you guys and have appreciated, all of the guidance. And again, you guys did a great job on our rebrand. And so, thanks again.
Thanks for listening to Beer Branding Trends. If you like what we're doing here, if you find this valuable, please rate and review us over on iTunes. And head over to beerbrandingtrends.com to join more than 5,000 subscribers who receive our monthly email newsletter covering strategy, currents, and actionable advice from CODO Design, a branding firm on the front lines of beer and beverage branding. Take care. We'll catch back up with you soon.